Today we continue with our class, Halachos of Brochos. Today's class number 23. Start with Sefer Halachos Chaim. And big topic is new. We started last time and before last. So it says vigilance without acceptance. The fact that derogatory statement was made for a constructive purpose does not permit the listener to accept it as a fact. It is permissible for a listener to the negative information to listen to the negative information for ta'elis, constructive purpose. However, it is not permitted to believe such an information. One may act upon such information on possibility that it might be true. So again, we were allowed to listen to negative information, but it is not allowed to believe it as a fact. But we are allowed to take it to consideration. Maybe it's a fact, so we have to do like our own investigation, look into it basically. It is for this reason that the first recondition for the speaking constructively is that one have first-hand knowledge of the negative information. So basically, if it was passed from somebody else, so that's he's not allowed to, she's not allowed to believe. Okay, so for first condition, first-hand knowledge. First-hand knowledge, negative information, he's conveying. Okay, since one cannot believe derogatory information as a fact, he cannot present it to others as such. Okay. In a situation where it's permissible to relay second-hand information, one is required to say that he heard it from others and could not be sure of its accuracy. So, if it's a serious matter, we'll be allowed to warn others, but tell them, okay, I didn't see it, I don't know for a fact. I'm telling you, but you go and check. Okay, 1 second. Oh. It's very hot in here. All right. So let's start. So we continue. What is our topic? So we started at chapter 7, and our topic was using single bracha for numerous items. That's our topic. So we arrived to the section D. Let's see. So D says, and all of the items in front of him when the bracha is made. So meaning, we say in one bracha, it should cover multiple items. When one makes a bracha without having any other foods in mind, if the items are he subsequently wished to eat were in front of him on a table at the time he made the bracha, those items are covered. So that's, I think it's a good, it's very, very important thing to know. So first of all, we said if he had in mind to eat some other foods, they're included. Even though, for example, right now in the refrigerator, so he wants to eat watermelon, and watermelon is getting chilled in in the refrigerator, right? So and he said blessing on bananas, and he's going later on. He's going to eat watermelon. So this watermelon is included. It's not in front of him, but it was in his mind, so it is included. Continue, right? So, but if he didn't have in mind and he ate bananas, this watermelon is not included unless it was in front of him. So, if it was in front of him, it is included, even he didn't have it in mind. So that's simple formula. For example, a beer, fish, eggs, and cheese were in on the table, and one made a shekakol on a fish. Should he subsequently wish to eat other items or drink the beer, a new shekakol will not be required. In this case, even though he did not have specific intention to eat eggs, cheese, etc., nevertheless, since they were in front of him, when he made the bracha, they're covered. So that's a straightforward example. So he eats one food, but others on the table in front of him, they're all covered. Okay, unless I would say what the exception would be, he has a specific intention not to eat certain food. Let's say she's on a diet and decided not to eat the salty foods, for example, right? And now he succumbed to his desires and he wants to eat this pickle, right? So now the person would need to make a separate blessing on the pickle. Why? Because he intentionally excluded it from his blessing. Continue. Furthermore, even there is one note. I'm not sure. Did we miss anything? No, we did not. Okay, continue. Furthermore, even if the items which were in front of him are of similar class, there is solids or liquids, they will be covered by the original bracha. In above example, the bracha on the fish will cover the beer, even though they are dissimilar. Okay. So what they're saying here, that even though some are liquids, some are solids, does not make any difference, right? So you make a blessing on a coffee, right, and it covers fish, or your omelet, right? Okay. And opposite also. Exception. Even though the bracha is valid for all of the items in front of him, when the bracha is made on a less chashuv item, chashuv is important, right? Chashuv, some people pronounce, okay. Item, it will not cover the more chashuv items. Okay, so if you, meaning what? If as we spoke last time, so if he made a blessing on oranges, the grapes are not covered, even though it's exactly the same blessing, because grapes are more important than oranges. So we said there is a minority opinion. We say if he likes this oranges so much and he does not like the grapes and does not like so much, so it could be exception. But it's better to go straightforward way. Just make a blessing on grape, take one piece and continue eat whatever you want to eat. So you're not going to be in a strange situation. Continue. Next section, E. And it says, I wonder what is this notice from? Oh, it's actually from previous class. Okay, got it. I found it. E. Did not have specific intent to cover subsequent items. Okay. Okay. There is an extensive discussion. There is an extensive difference of the opinions among the Rishonim regarding someone who makes bracha without having specific intent to include additional items, which were not before him at the time he recited the bracha. These views are explained below on the footnote I. Okay, so we're going to check footnote I. So basically, he started eating, right? He's sitting at the table and did not have any specific intention. So it's like, for example, he ate one orange, maybe he wants to have another orange after that, but he did not have specific intention. These are like smaller things, when it's usually customary to eat more than one, it could be a different situation, but let's see. The Kol Bo writes, rules, that bracha is valid only on those items which were in front of him at the time he made the bracha. All the items which are subsequently brought to the table will, according to this view, require new bracha. Okay, to illustrate, at the time when made bracha on apple, there was an apple and an orange in front of him. The bracha is valid on those two fruits only. If it will not be valid for any additional apples or oranges subsequently brought. Okay, so that's how we were been explaining until now. That's a straightforward way. right? To seeing things. So whatever you said the blessing, let's say you didn't have anything in mind, you have only apple and orange in front of you, they're covered. So even though you start with apple, did not have intention to eat orange, that doesn't make any difference, right? But if they bring more apples from refrigerator or from storage, so they are not covered, unless, as we said before, he had a specific intention to eat more than one. Okay, second opinion. The Abal Hatur, right, rules that bracha is valid for all items which are the same type as the one upon which the bracha was made, even though the subsequent items were not in front of him when the original bracha was made. Okay, so this is a very linear opinion. So let me read it one more time. I don't want to say my opinion before we finish reading. Okay, so it says that the Baal HaTorah rules that bracha is valid for all items which are in the same type. Okay, as the one upon which the bracha was made. So they would need to explain us what the same type is. So apples is only apples, or apples means pears also. I think apples type is apples, but let's see. Even though the subsequent items were not in front of him when the original bracha was made. For example, a bracha made on apple will be valid for subsequent apples, exactly, which will be brought. A bracha on a meat will be valid on additional meat subsequently served. Okay, so basically on apples, but not on oranges. That's the way I read it. Okay, which is also makes sense. But let's see his proof. The Baal Ha'itur position is based on the fact that when a person starts eating, it is not uncommon for him to be drawn into eating more of the same food. So he has a very narrow case. He said only this. So it is a more linear opinion, but I would say it makes sense. Okay, same food. Thus, when one makes a bracha on an apple, even if he had nothing else in mind at the time he made the bracha, he may eat apples subsequently brought without making new bracha. Okay, which just makes sense. So that's one bracha. Okay, so if he ate apples and he wants more apples now, no problem. It can get from refrigerator. Okay. So there is no conclusion yet. So continue reading. The issue is okay. What is the general practice of people engaged in similar situation? If people under similar circumstances would generally not eat additional foods, the bracha will be deemed halachically invalid for the subsequent foods. So one more time, the issue is, what is the general practice of people engaging in similar situations? If people under similar circumstances would generally not eat additional foods, the bracha will be deemed halachically invalid for subsequent foods. If, however, people will generally continue eating additional foods, the bracha will be deemed halachically valid for subsequent foods. So that's, I'm not sure what situation they're talking about, so let's continue reading. The following are the practical application, okay, of what. Just let's wait. He connects. Sorry. I'm not sure what happened. I said admit. 1 second, let me see, maybe I did not. Oh, June. Okay, he's connecting now. On the net. Okay, that's good. All right. So one more time this piece. The following a practical application for what one should do, B'diavad, as we said, after the fact. If he did not have specific intent for the other foods, and the other foods were not in front of him at the time he made the bracha. So basically, okay, so now we're going to go in scenario. So here's the issue. They say in some circumstances, I'm not sure what the circumstances, people would generally eat more than one. I mean, there's no problem to it. I would say when person is in his house, so he can eat one apple and then get another apple. That's what I think. Maybe if it's in somebody else's house and they gave him only one apple, so he's not going to get the second one, which is not sure. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, let's see the explanation. Number one, subsequent items of the same type. So basically, the question is if he ate one apple and he did not have any that he going to eat second one in mind, and it was not in front of him. So that's the scenario. What should he do? B'diavad, when one makes a bracha without having any other food in mind, if the item brought is of the same type, is 1 second. If of the same type as the one upon which the bracha was made, even though it was not before him when the bracha was recited, new bracha should not be recited. So let's try to understand. Subsequent, one more time this scenario. Subsequent item is of the same type. B'diavad, if one makes a bracha without having any food in mind, if the item brought of the same type is one upon which which the bracha was made, even though it was not before him when the bracha was recited, a new bracha should not be recited. So basically, if he ate apple, he did not have in mind to have more apples. Now they brought another apple, so he's allowed to say b'diavad after the fact. For example, one made bracha on an apple, and after a while he wants to eat another apple, even though at the time he made the bracha, he did not have specific intent to have more fruit. There is no other apples in front of him. Nevertheless, in the second item is also an apple, it will be covered by his original bracha. An additional bracha should not be made. So we go here by the second opinion. Actually, I just realized there is a third opinion on the next page. It was not obvious. Okay, so basically he had apple. He ate apple, and now he decided to eat more apples. So after the fact, he does not need to make a different blessing because there is such an opinion. But it's only b'diavad after the fact, right? So commentaries say, if the subsequent item was different reality, for example, the bracha was made on a red Macintosh apple, and he subsequently wished to eat the green delicious apples, but of the same type, there is apple, it is covered by original bracha. So I mean, okay. So apples and apples are same type. Okay. So let's make a step back, take a step back. There is a third opinion. So the third opinion is so let's remind ourselves. So first opinion was that it's not covered. So whatever he was not in front of him and he did not have in mind is not covered. Okay. Second opinion was it is covered, even it was not in front of him, but if it is of the same type, it is covered. Now we're going to the third opinion. The Sefer HaMitzvah's cotton rules that the bracha stays in effect only as long as some of original food upon which the bracha was made remains on the table before him. Very interesting. To illustrate, a person was served a bowl of fruit containing apples and oranges. He selected one of the fruits, made a bracha, and ate that fruit. Subsequently, peaches were brought. If one of the apples or oranges still remained before him, he may eat peach without making additional bracha. Okay. The Sefer HaMitzvah's ruling is based on a judgment that the person is not finished with the eating session as long as some of the other items he started with remain before him. Although the bracha is valid for additional items, the bracha made on the solids will not cover valid for liquids, unless both items in front of him when he made the bracha. Okay, so I mean it's different commentary, I guess, but okay. So let's try to understand this. The third opinion. So it's Sefer HaMitzvah's cotton. So he's saying that as long as some items on which he made the brach or which were covered by the brach. So the example that he gives, it's very interesting example. So he has a bowl of fruits, he has oranges and have apples and pears, and he made the bracha on the apple and he ate this apple. He finished the apple, right? And now they brought peaches. So they said, since there is still food in front of him that covered by his original bracha, if he wants to, right? These oranges are covered by the bracha on the apple, as we said, because they're in front of him. So these peaches are also covered by this original bracha. Very interesting, because as he explained, it's still continuation of eating session. We didn't get to eating session definition, but like simple explanation would be eating session. It has its specific start point and specific end point. So until he finish, and there is it should be special indication when person finishes his eating session. So if he did some action, right, or say some words that indicate that he finished eating, if he decide to eat afterwards, so those foods are not covered. Basically, he would need to make a separate blessing. That's the eating session in a nutshell. We're going to learn it in, I'm not sure what chapter is it, but we're going to learn Be'Ezrat Hashem. So one more time, so we're going to this, so it was like a little step back. So now a step forward, and we go to the different scenarios, right? So what is our issue at hand? So the issue at hand, if he ate something, right, and the similar items were not in front of him, so it was only one apple on the table. He had one apple, ate it, and now he wants to eat more apples, right? So or more foods. Let's make it interesting. So it says more foods, oranges, right, or whatever, some more fruits, which are covered by the same bracha. So the question is, this bracha is covered. So first scenario was if it was the same type, apples and apples, even though he did not have in mind. But as we said, there is a second opinion. What was a cold ball? What was the opinion also? No, cold ball is the first opinion. Bal Chaitur. So Bal Chaitur said usually people eat one apple or one fruit and then another. So it is covered. Second scenario. Subsequent item is not of the same type. So basically, he ate apples, and now the question is orange is also covered, which is not in front of him. When one makes a bracha on a particular item, for example, an apple, without having any other food in mind, if the subsequent item brought is a different type, for example, orange, even though it is in the same class of food, meaning fruit, right? There is both solid food items. A new bracha will be required. So, okay, and there is an instance. Okay, so he ate apples, as we said, they brought orange. Orange is not covered, even though it is the same bracha. There is an instance, however, where the original bracha will remain valid for subsequent items. Even though it is of the different type than original item. So, one more time. There is an instance, however, where the original bracha will remain valid for subsequent items, even though it is of different type than the original item. So, okay, so let's see, and then we explain. If some of the foods which was before him, when he originally made the bracha, continues to remain before him, any subsequent items brought, even the similar item, will be covered. Okay, so it's actually now this scenario is going by the third opinion, as we said, the Sefer Halachos was cotton. When he started eating oranges and there are grapes in a bowl, right, a fruit bowl, he didn't touch the grapes. Let's say, I'm going to take back this example, not a good example. Let's say he started eating grapes. Okay, to make it straightforward, he started eating grapes, and there were oranges in a fruit bowl. So according to this opinion, B'Diavad, we're trying not to do it, not to put ourselves in this situation, but B'Diavad after the fact, if he is already in this situation, right? So according to this opinion, the Sefer Halachos was cotton. Since he has some fruit left in his fruit bowl, apples or oranges from refrigerators are also covered by this blessing. Okay, why? Because as it said, his eating session is not over. And one more fact that I want to emphasize is so even though this bracha is valid for a solid, right, items, it's not going to be valid for liquid items. So if you want these different items be covered, right, they must be in front of you, or you have to have a specific intention in mind. Okay. Okay, they give us example. For example, a person was served a bowl of fruit containing a pear and several apples. Without thinking about other fruits, he made bracha on a pear, having leaving other apples which remain in a bowl. Okay. Subsequently, he decided to have some peaches. If any apples or part of a pear which were there in the time of he made his bracha are still at the table at the time of the peaches is brought, a new bracha should not be made. Okay. So I mean exactly as we explained. So let's see the commentary. Even though at the time a person made the bracha, the only food he had in mind was the one he originally took to eat. Right? I like this explanation. In this case, pear, and even though the new item is not the same type as the original item, the new items is peach. Right? Nevertheless, subsequently brought fruit are not subject to a new bracha. So basically, he had this, as we said, oranges and peach and apples. He made a blessing on the apple. Did not intend to eat oranges, but since he has, let's say, piece of apple left or some oranges left, so now he can eat peaches because his eating session is not finished. So it's actually we're going by the third opinion. Questions? Okay. Exceptions. A. If bracha was made in a less choshev item, as example, section C above. According to the most poskim, it will not cover the more choshev item. So if he made blessing on oranges, it's not going to cover grapes for sure, right? So even he has oranges and apples in his fruit bowl, but what is it? But grapes are in the refrigerator. He did not intend to eat grapes originally, so they're not covered. Okay. So they say according to by most poskim, that's what we go. Okay. Continue. B. Bracha on food will not exempt drinks. Also, I mean, we said it in the commentary, but now they're going to elaborate. Although the bracha will be effective to cover items which will be subsequently served, it will not cover items of a different class. Okay. So although the bracha will be effective to cover items which be subsequently served, right? It will not cover items of a different class. Okay. That is, if bracha was made on a salad foods, it will not cover the drinks. Okay. So just for us to understand, if the foods and drinks were in front of us, there is no problem. The only problem, as we said, if they are not in front of you, that's the scenario they're talking about. Okay, for example, one ate fish upon which he made the shechakol. Subsequently, while some of the fish remained on the table, he brought out some beer. Since the second food is beer, the beer is liquid, and the bracha was made on fish, a salad, the beer is not covered by the original shechakol. Okay. However, the shechakol made on fish will be valid for the beer if any of the following applies. So okay. So one more time. However, shechakol made on a fish will be valid on a beer if any of the following applies. So 1 second. So let's try to understand the general bracha, the general halacha. General halacha that in case if person did not have in mind and it was not in front of him, so if we say if it's a similar type, it is covered according to first opinion. Second opinion, first opinion, it's not covered. Second opinion, we said it's covered if it's only the same type, apples and apples. And third opinion, we said that it is covered if he has his eating session did not end, meaning he still have something that the bracha could apply for. Now, next thing we said, the liquids are not covered by blessing on a salads, and salads are not covered by blessing on a liquid, right? Okay. So now we say there isn't one exception. It's not one. It's few. Okay. So one more time. However, the shechakol made on fish will be valid for beer if any of the following applies. Both fish and beer were before him when he made the bracha. Okay. I mean, that's straightforward. So if it was he made the blessing on the fish, the beer was there, of course it's covered. Okay. Number two, he had specific intent while making bracha on the fish to drink the beer as well. For example, the beer was in a refrigerator, right? So that's fine. It is covered. Number three, it was his natural practice to eat fish with beer. Beer is not healthy, just so we know. It was his usual practice to eat fish and beer, even if it is a normal practice to eat a second item. It is considered if there is specific intent. See, for example, section F. Okay, so we're going to explain. So let's try to summarize. So if the items were in front of him, meaning salads and liquids, beer and fish, okay, he made the blessing on the fish, beer covered. He made the blessing on the beer, fish is covered, no problem, in front of him. Second scenario, if he had a specific intent, right? So he put some beer in the refrigerator to cool off, no problem. And third, if it's his usual practice. And this would be very applicable when we're going to learn, I don't remember, the laws, no, it's actually here. Yeah, it's actually in this book. The laws of meals on Shabbos, right? For example, mizoines, is it covered? Cakes are covered by the meal or not? So some, okay, I'm not going to say. Okay, so not basically not everybody aware of it, even though they think that they know a few things. So it's not always covered. But one of the situations when it is covered, for example, when there is, they have this tradition, always after the Shabbos meal, they would eat a cake, piece of cake, always. So in this case, when they made the blessing on a bread, so the cake is covered. But if it's only occasionally they eat cake and desserts, so the desserts are not covered. It's not part of the meal. Unless he eats it or she eats it for satiation. If a person is still hungry and still eats extra foods for it is for satiation, then it is covered by bread. Okay, in second check. Okay. So section F. So section F says rules relating the specific intent. The following are some rules relating specific intent and the guidelines for using specific intent. So we'll see that the intent of the Jew is something like extraordinary. So based on intent, like the whole halacha changes what that person was thinking at that time. It's something unbelievable. Let's see. Number one, one's usual practice is considered a specific intent. So actually, that's what we just explained. Right? So if he usually does this, he eats this food after that food, right? So that's usually specific intent. What does it mean? If it is one's usual practice to eat certain items after the first item, it is considered as if he had specific intent to do so. So that's his nature, right, of this person. The second item will be covered even though he did not have specific intent to do so, nor it was in front of him at the time he made the bracha. Commentary. If, however, the subsequent item brought in more chashuv, then the item upon which the bracha was made, a new bracha will be required. See above section C. Okay. So as we said before, so I mean, okay, here's an example. For example, if one usually drinks soda with his meat, soda is not healthy, just so you know. Not healthy. Maybe seltzer is okay, but soda with his meat. When he makes the bracha on the meat, it is considered as though the meat he meant to include soda, which will subsequently brought, and no further bracha is made required. So okay, he drinks he eats meat and he likes this meat washed down with soda. So soda is included, even though it was not in front of him. Why? Even though it's two different types, right? Two different categories. One is solid, one is liquid. But as we said before, that's the rule. Because it's his usual practice, then it is included. Okay, continue. Second. So we want to remind ourselves, we're going over the rules related to specific intent. So here, his usual practice, it means specific intent. Next one, number 2. Meal or eating session considered a specific intent. Meal or eating session considered a specific intent. Let's see. When a person has bread with his meal, even if he does not have a specific intent to cover the foods which will be subsequently served at the meal, they are nevertheless covered. The reason for this is that during a meal, it is quite common for a person to ultimately eat foods which he had not planned to eat, and which were not in front of him when he made hamotzi. Therefore, it is considered as if his intention was to eat all the food subsequently served. So let's try to understand. We didn't learn what bread is covering. We didn't get to that chapter yet. But here we'll already start talking about the meal. So when a person has a bread meal, usually it's a main meal of the day, usually. So the main meal of the day, whenever is it? For some people it's lunch, for some people it's supper. Okay, so as we learn in Hilchot Diot, it's better, Rambam says, better to have this last meal 3-4 hours before one goes to sleep. I don't think it works very well on Friday night, but on all other days there is no excuse for us. Why? As Rambam said, to stay healthy. So Rambam said, if you simply follow whatever I'm teaching you, you're going to live a pretty good life without disease, without sicknesses. I mean, that's good. I think good recommendation, right? So basically, what it says here, whenever this main meal is, it's usually to eat several dishes. Right? So okay, so all of the dishes, they are covered by this bread. Why? Because it's all one eating session, and person usually eats several dishes, so it is considered, it's like his intent. So that's a like a genius explanation, I think. Continue. Thus, when one makes a birchas hamotzi on bread, all foods which are eaten for the satiation, he did not underline, but that's a keyword, satiation, will be covered, even though foods which he did not initially plan on eating. And commentary regarding which types of food are covered in Birchas Hamotzi, it's chapter 5. 1 second, what chapter are we on? Right. So continue. So basically, whatever foods he eats for satiation. So many times when person eats dessert, it's not for satiation, right? It's because he wants something sweet, let's say, right? Or some the sweet, right? So that, or fruits. So fruits are not eaten for satiation. They eat as a dessert, so they would not be included. Continue. Similarly, according to some poskim, if one sits down to a meal, not including bread, or to an eating session, that is, he is not eating the food as a quick snack, rather he plans to sit down to eat a liberal amount. So the person is hungry, right? He sits down and he's going to eat big meal. Even if he does not have specific intent to cover all foods, which will subsequently be brought, they are nevertheless covered, provided they have same bracha rishana. Okay. So in this case, it is his specific intent to have a large meal. And during the large meal, people eat different foods. It's normal, right? So if it's the same bracha rishana, rishana means blessing before eating, right? So if they're in the same category, as we said, that they're not in liquids and solids, in the same category, so he can eat. Okay, they're covered with the same blessing. Number 3. Served by host or wife consider specific intent. A guest. Guest. A bracha that guest makes will be valid for all additional items of the same bracha category, which the host will subsequently serve him. Since the guest is dependent on his host, his underlying intention is that the bracha should not be limited to any specific food. Thus, the bracha extends to cover anything that the host might might serve, provided that they have the same bracha rishana. Okay. So let's read the commentary and we're going to explain. So basically, it's very interesting. So the person comes over. He's a guest in somebody's house. What he's going to eat, he has no idea. Whatever they're going to bring me, I'm going to eat. Whatever they give me for me to drink, I'm going to drink. Right? How do I know what they have, what they don't have, what would they prepare, what did not prepare? I mean, so his intention is to eat everything or drink everything that that they're going to bring him. So basically, all of the food subsequently brought from the same bracha category, they covered. Very interesting. So including liquids and salads. So he made a blessing, let's say, on a salad, on an omelet, right? Let's say, and then they brought him coffee. This coffee is covered. Why? Because it was his intent to drink coffee or to drink liquids. Okay. So commentary. The guest bracha is valid even if the subsequent items are more chashuv than items upon which the bracha was made. Okay. The guest bracha is valid even if the subsequent item are more chashuv than the items that the bracha was made. So basically, it's very beautiful addition, right? So in this case, as we said, he had a specific intention to eat everything, whatever they're going to bring. So even though he made a blessing on an orange, now they just washed grapes. Grapes are covered because one more time, because it was his intention. What was his intention? His intention was not for grapes, but his intention specifically, his intention was for all of the items that they're going to bring. So it is considered specific intention. We have seen in section C that when the person making bracha has specific intention to cover both items, the bracha made on a less chashuv, right after the fact, on oranges, items cover the more chashuv. They cover the grapes. When the guests make a bracha, it is continuation. It is considered as he had a specific intent for all subsequent items, which will be served. Therefore, his bracha will cover the more chashuv items as well. So it's very interesting. So in this case, as we explained, it's his specific intention to eat everything, since since he does not know when they're going to bring. So even if a less chashuv item would cover more chashuv items. Continue. Even in the case, so we continue with the guest. We didn't finish. Continuation. Even in the case of a host who does not serve his guest until they request that which they desire, nevertheless, when the guest makes his bracha, his intention is to cover all the subsequent foods which will be served. Let me read again. I'm not sure what is it. What do they mean? Even if the case in a host does not serve his guest until they request that which is they desire. So basically, the host asks what you want to eat. So they give him choices. Let's say, nevertheless, when the guest makes his bracha, his intention is to cover all the subsequent foods which will be served. So the way I understand this line, these two sentences, it's actually one sentence. It's 3 lines, 1 sentence. So we mean here that even though initially it was not decided what he's going to eat, and he chose the food that he's going to eat. So basically, we send here, they're not going to stop here. So most probably he's going to eat more, some additional foods. So all the other additional foods are also covered. So it was A was guest and B wife and mother. Okay. Sometimes it's one and the same, one wife and mother. If someone relies on being served by his wife or mother, his underlying intention is the bracha should not be limited to any specific food. Basically, the wife is going to give him something good, and then there is something even better, right? So his bracha, he's not going to stop. Therefore, his bracha extend to cover anything of the same bracha category she serves. Okay. Of the same bracha category. Okay. So the same bracha category, meaning if he made blessed oranges, it's going to cover all of the other fruits as well. Next one, C. Specifically intended not to rely upon host, wife, etc. Nevertheless, if one intended to limit his meal, for example, he's on a diet, or decided that he will only eat some course, no matter how much the host wife insists on serving him more, right? And let it decide to eat more, a new bracha will be required. So if he said, okay, I'm going to eat only half of a portion, whatever they gave me, right? Because I'm on the diet. And in his mind, this after he would finish this half a portion, it would be end of the eating session for him. So when he finished and they pursue him to eat more, right? So he would need to make separate blessing because it's like a new eating session started. That's what I said. This intention of the person, it's unbelievable. D, not expecting host to serve more food. In situation where at the time of the bracha, the guest does not expect additional food to be served, nor does he expect to ask for more. Okay, if additional food is subsequently served, the new bracha is required. So if he did not expect more, and for whatever reason they brought more, so he would need to make a new blessing. So let's see, what is the example? For example, a meeting is arranged in which they serve the food is not called for. Okay, so they did not say they're going to eat food. Okay, just meeting. The host, however, served coffee to be polite. Okay, nice. The situation does not call for additional food or beverages to be served, and the guest would feel uncomfortable asking for more. Should the additional food or drink be served, a new bracha will be required. Okay, so that's, I think it's a good example. It was a short meeting, and they were not expected to have any food. Now they have some food. Okay, so they would not expect more. If they brought more, so okay, so a new blessing. Number 4, specific intent can be used to exclude. Very interesting. One can have specific intent to exclude certain items from his eating session. Commentary. One can also terminate his eating session by having specific intention to discontinue eating, at which point his original blessing will no longer be valid. This is discussed more fully in chapter 8. So it's next chapter, number 8. So basically, if he decided that after this item, I'm going to stop eating. So, and he, as we gave example before, after this thing, after this idea, he decided change his mind, start eating again. So that that original bracha no longer valid. For example, if one is served a bowl of apples, and the result, commentators say either verbally in his mind, so a resolution, whatever, even nobody heard whatever he said. I will eat only one apple, no more. His bracha is limited to that apple. Should he change his mind and desire to eat a second apple, a new bracha will be required. Okay, new bracha will be required. Okay, similarly, when one makes a bracha, chamotzi, on bread, he can specifically limit the bracha coverage to certain items only. One more time. Similarly, when one makes the bracha, chamotzi, on bread, so he makes bracha chamotzi on bread, he can specifically limit bracha coverage for certain items only. So before this, we said usually bread is the biggest meal, and he would eat multiple foods. But even in this situation, he can say, I'm only going to eat this and this. That's it. For example, one is on a diet and has specific intention to eat only chicken with his bread and nothing else. Since at the same time, since at the time of the bracha, he had specific intention not to eat anything, anything other than the chicken, all other foods which subsequently wish to eat will require a bracha. Okay. Furthermore, so I mean it's straightforward. So if he decided that's it, I'm on a diet, I'm going to eat this and this, even though these foods other foods were in front of him, right? Does not make any difference. He had a specific intent not to eat any others, so meaning that he excluded them. Furthermore, even if he had specific intent to eat only one slice of bread, any additional bread will be required a new bracha. That's I'm not sure why would he do that, but I guess also because of the diet, right? So he's on a diet, so he said, I'm going to eat these foods. Okay, so we can stop here. So the next chapter 8 is going to say change mind. Chemes das. Chesed das. It's in English spelling. All right, thank you very much. Wish you a good night and until Monday, Be'Ezrat Hashem. Thank you. Bye-bye.